Hello all. I am Chantal Rupi and I will be your MC for tonight. Yesterday we concluded our 7-day study on the Yoga of Devotion by Sri Angajan ji. Today we celebrate Krishna Janmashtami, the festival celebrating the birth of Lord Krishna, the eighth avatar of Lord Vishnu. The topic chosen for today's discourse is the role of Lord Krishna in the Kurukshetra war, the war between the cousins, the Pandavas and the Kauravas in a dynastic succession struggle. On behalf of the Life Mastery Foundation, I would like to welcome you all to another power-packed discourse whilst Angajanji presents a philosophical message behind the story and its value to living a better, more meaningful and purposeful life. The Life Mastery Foundation is a public benefit organization accredited by SARS under Section 18A 1A, dedicated to education on higher human values, and through Angajanji, the propagation of principle-centered living, philosophical and cultural education, ethical and moral values to the youth, NGOs, religious organizations, and humanity at large. For the past 7 days, Angajan ji has had us gripped to our seats whilst imparting his profound knowledge attained during his lengthy years of research and studies of the Bhagavad Gita, a life book that has proven to be invaluable regardless of your faith, religion, creed, or race. If you wish to continue with this inward journey with the guidance of Sri Angajanji, you may join his Saturday Bhagavad Gita classes. You can contact the Life Mastery Foundation for more information. The details should appear on your screen shortly. The life lesson in day 3 completely resonated with me. Angajan ji said that the meaning of life is finding solutions to a series of problems. If you are living a problem-free life, then you are actually not living. You're merely existing without purpose. He reminded us that all the prayers and teachings just equips us to journey through these problems, enabling us to find the solutions easily and as pain-free as possible. But it does not eliminate the problems. That could never happen if we are actually living life. So instead of facing a hurdle with stress and anxiety, we face it with mental strength and intellect, focusing on the solution and moving forward. With that, I ask you to now give your full attention to Sri Angajanji and turn on your utmost focus to your journey of enlightenment.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastoma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. please join us in reciting the Dhyana slogam, which is considered to be the invocation for the Bhagavad Gita. Now, this particular 9 verses that we are reciting not only glorifies Bhagavan Sri Krishna, his profound impact, it glorifies many other characters associated with the Mahabharata, including Sage Vyasa and many other characters of the war. Of course, Arjuna as well. So please join us in reciting the Dhyana slogas.
Om Pathaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam
Advaitaamritavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayini Amba Tvamanusandadami Bhagavad Gite Bhavatveshini Namostu te Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullaravindaya Tapatra Netra
Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gītāmrita-duhe namaha Sarvopanishado gao Dobdha Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdam Gītāmritam Mahat Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Bhishmadrona Jayadratha Jala
Gandharani Lotpalam Shalyagrahavati Kripena Vahani Karnena Velakulam
Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Sotirna Khalu Pandavairananadi Kaivartaka Keshavaha Parasharyavachah Sarojamamalam Gītāर्थagandhotkatam Nānākhyanakakesaram Harikatha Sambodhana Bodhitam Loke Sajjana Shatpadairaharaha Pepiyamanam Muda Bhuyad Bharata Pankajam Kalimala Pradvamsina Shreyase Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्त्वैः वेदैः साङ्गपदं क्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगा ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः.
Blessed devotees of the Sanatana Dharma, as you know, today Hindus throughout the world celebrate the auspicious festival of KRISHNA Janmashtami, as you know, the advent of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the 8th avatar of Vishnu. The advent of Krishna in Bharat, the Bharatavarsha. It brought about a dramatic transformation, not only in India, but also millenniums later all over the world, by the dynamic and profound philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita. As you heard that we have chanted the verses, one of the verses that you heard chanting is that Mukam karoti vachalam pangum lankayade girim. What that means is the dynamic philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita makes the mute eloquent, and it enables the cripples to scale mountain. What that means is it makes even the seemingly impossible task attainable. And with this dynamic philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, it continues to make incredible impact in the minds of lives, in the lives of people all over the world. Not only Hindus, but others as well. So the avatar of Krishna had a revitalizing touch in every aspect of Hindu's life. You name it, you'll find there's a touch of Lord Krishna. Whether it is music, art like painting, sculptures, of course, philosophy, religion, mysticism, poetry, dance, drama, every aspect of Hindu culture, the life of Hindu, you will find there is presence of Lord Krishna, or touch of Lord Krishna. You cannot miss it. And of course, the Mahabharata made that incredible impact of Hindu culture. There's a saying, what is there in Mahabharata can be found anywhere else, but what is not there in Mahabharata cannot be found anywhere else. So what exactly is the role that Lord Krishna played in the Kurukshetra war. As you know, from time immemorial, the world has been challenged by demonical forces, negative forces. And it has been from time immemorial. It is not only now. So, in order to protect the virtuous, there has been advent or manifest of avatar. Avatar is a Sanskrit word which means an avatar is one who's attuned to God consciousness by birth itself. That's an avatar. So in the case of Vishnu, as you know, there's already been 9 avatars, and the 10th is yet to come, that is supposed to be considered to be said to be Kalki. Right from Matsya avatar, the fish avatar, to tortoise, the Kurma avatar, then the wild boar Varaha avatar, then Narasimha, half human and half lion avatar, and then Vamana, the dwarf avatar, and Parashurama, which is considered to be the Purna avatar, the complete avatar in a human form, and of course Rama, Krishna, and then came Buddha avatar. So today we celebrate this advent of the avatar of Krishna, the most dynamic, highly impactful across the world. The 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 7 and 8, Bhagavan Krishna explicitly spells out why or how or when this avatar occurs. He says, Yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata apyuthanam adharmasya tathatmanam sajamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. It's one of the most oft quoted verses in the Bhagavad Gita. I'm sure many of you are familiar with those 2 verses, chapter 4, verses 7 and 8. In a nutshell, those 2 verses are talking about whenever there is a decline of dharma, virtue, the fundamental values and principles among life and among people. Whenever there is a decline of dharma and rise of adharma, Krishna says, God will appear again and again in many forms. For what? What is the purpose of avatar? The 8th verse, the next verse says, Paritranaya sadhuna, to protect the virtuous. There is another verse that talks in the Upanishad that says, Dharmo rakshati rakshita, meaning dharma protects those who protect dharma. So if you want Krishna to protect you, you got to protect dharma. All right. And how do you protect dharma? The only way to protect dharma is to live dharma. You can't just educate dharma without living it. So to protect the virtuous, paritranaya sadhunam, the virtuous, vinayasya dushkritam, to destroy the evil from the world. He's not saying evil people. There's no such thing as evil people. All right. To destroy the evil and to establish dharma, to establish righteousness in this world, sambhavami yuge yuge, I will appear age after age, and it has been continuing. Now, when Lord says, Bhagavan says, I will appear again and again, and it has been happening from time immemorial, especially in India. There are great gurus and mahatmas, not necessarily avatar, but there are some avatars also appearing in the world. All right, by birth itself, God realized, and what is declared is Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the 8th avatar. And you find in India, almost every quarter of a century or so, there is a great Mahatma appearing and lift people to great heights of, inspire people towards great heights of spiritual perfection, and slowly fades back, and then comes another one. And this has been the cycle in India for time immemorial. And the advent of God to resurrect humanity can be in many forms, in contemporary perspective. When people lose the dharmic principle-centered living, when they lose the higher values, spiritual values of life, and lured by the worldly pleasures, and when they make adverse impact in this world, you will find and we encountering challenges like what is happening in this world today as we're talking, the advent of COVID. So don't wait for a Matsya avatar, fish avatar, or a tortoise avatar, or Parashurama, Rama avatar. Avatar comes in many ways to inspire, to help people to think differently. How do we know that the coronavirus is not an avatar of Vishnu? Of course, there's no proof that it is not, because definitely people have changed the way they think. When we get immersed, when we get steeped in consumeristic living, and we destroy nature, destroy ocean, destroy environment, destroy everything, and we think so selfishly, egocentrically, that is when situation like this occurs, which will make people think we need to be taking less from the world, and we got to make sure that when we leave this world, we leave a better world for our future generation. What our children, grandchildren, grandchildren inherit the world will be terrible if we don't change the way we live. I happened to read some staggering information, facts about coronavirus. It was written by a small article written by Dr. Subramanian Narayanan, a scientist in India. He calculated the weight of coronavirus. He says the weight of one coronavirus is 0.85 attogram. Attogram is 10 to the power of minus 18 of a gram, if you know what that means. What that means is 1 attogram is actually 1 quintillionth of a gram. That is an attogram. All right. That is the weight of one coronavirus. 1 quintillionth of a gram. That is 10 to the power of minus 18 of a gram. That is the weight of a coronavirus. And that has brought humanity to its knees. And he continued the calculation. He says it takes about 70 billion viruses to make one person fall sick. 70 billion viruses to make one person fall sick. Until then, you're still okay. Our system can fight. And that 70 billion virus is about, he says, 0.60, 0.000005 of a gram. That is the tiny weight. And it multiplies, and there are many variations, different variations keep coming. And today, I was just researching what's the number of infectious cases, active cases of COVID. It's about 217 million people are infected in the world. And most of them, quite a few of them got cured, of course. They're not, that's the number of people got infected. And the total weight of that viruses, all right, of that 217 million people got infected is less than 100 grams. And that is what made the whole world, it created a shock therapy to humanity that, the heads of the states all over the world started conferences and discussion and how to fight, how to change our lifestyle. If you forget, there'll be something more. The only other way is to change our lifestyle, change our selfish and egocentric way of living. Otherwise, until then, we will be visited with the trials and tribulations and challenges. Coming back to avatar of Krishna, Lord Krishna is affectionately called in many, many names: Chittachor, Nandalala, and various other names, very affectionate terms. And right from the birth till his departure, there are incidences that are so enjoyable, glorified. The whole Bhagavatam is full of stories of Krishna, which is talking about the devotional approach on the spiritual path. Now, what is unique about Krishna is that he adopted his own dharmic method, which of course, for superficial readers and thinkers, it will appear very adharmic. All right. Krishna adopted his own righteous dharmic method. If you don't think deeply, it might seem adharmic, to establish righteousness and truth. That's why, the Bhagavad Gita appeals to not an ordinary superficial readers. It appeals to deep thinkers to understand the deeper philosophy. There are many contradictions and paradoxes you will find in the Mahabharata. And the paradoxes are only seeming. It is not really. We will analyze a few, probably one or two of those, what is the meaning behind it. If you look at the last two avatars of Krishna, which is Rama and Krishna, last two avatars of Vishnu rather, which is Rama avatar and Krishna avatar. Of course, both these avatars appeared in two different ages, two different epochs, two different eras. And you find both of them adopted two different methods of establishing dharma, because that is what was necessary at that age, at that period. Lord Rama in the Ramayana, as you can see, is called Maryata Purushottama, meaning one who is perfect in every aspect. Maryada Purusha Uttama. Uttama Purusha means perfect man. That was Lord Rama, and always focused on Satyam. Whereas Krishna, on the other hand, another name for Krishna is Nitya Brahmachari. And what was he doing? He was dancing with the gopis, the women of Vrindavan. Of course, they are not to be taken literally. They're all deeply symbolic. That's why I told you we need to think deeper. Rama, on one hand, you will see, lived by rules and regulations to establish dharma. He followed the social rules of the country, societal rules, to establish dharma. Whereas Krishna, on the other hand, of course, Krishna did not violate the truth, but he broke the rules and regulations to sustain dharma. He broke the so-called social rules, but both of them established dharma. Rama, on one hand, always spoke the truth to sustain dharma. When Dasharatha gave the promise to Kaikeyi, you all know the story, he decided to leave Ayodhya to keep up the father's promise. So he always spoke the truth and lived the truth, not only for himself, but the other people. Whereas Krishna, on the other hand, made Yudhishthira speak a lie to kill Yudhishthira's guru, Dronacharya, also to protect dharma. Both Rama and Krishna, the avatars of Vishnu, seem to have diametrically opposite personality, but both of them established dharma. Rama fought the evil head on, using weapon. You will see the image of Lord Rama, the iconographic depiction of Rama. You'll always find Rama carrying bow and arrow. You will never see Rama's picture without bow and arrow, even in his family picture. Lord Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana, and of course Hanuman sitting with an extreme reverence in front of Rama in a family picture with bow and arrow. Have you ever seen a picture of Rama without bow and arrow? Even in a family picture, can you imagine your family picture? You take a picture and put it on the wall, yourself, your wife, and your children, and you're carrying an AK-47 gun in your family picture. Rama always fought evil head-on to establish dharma, whereas Krishna, on the other hand, you will never find Lord Krishna carrying a weapon. What did he carry? Only a flute. Rama, on one hand, he sacrificed everything, his personal pleasures, personal enjoyment. He sacrificed the kingdom. He sacrificed the kingship, including his family. All right. In the process of sacrificing his family, of course, he accommodated a bigger family. He always thought about the cause of the country, Ramarajya. Whereas Krishna taught Pandavas to kill the family, to establish dharma, to uphold dharma, to establish truth. Both are right. So therefore, what Hinduism depicts through this dynamic personalities, avatars of Rama and Krishna, is that you got to know when to apply the principles of dharma and adharma depending upon the context. In the Mahabharata, there are many, many instances. Now, before we get on to that, one of the questions that especially the younger generation, the youth of today particularly asks, of course, the older generation also, when they were youth, they asked the same question. All right. The question is that, did Mahabharata really happen? Did Ramayana really happen? That's a question very often youth happen when those who read Mahabharata, when they read such a magnificent description, has it really happened? Has Krishna really lived? Of course, the answer is yes. Did Mahabharata really happen? Of course, yes. There are many, many historical, not only evidences, historical fact, places that is discussed in the Mahabharata is existing even now. And of course, many places have been lost to many other parts of the world, including Pakistan, Afghanistan, Burma, Nepal. These are all part of India, as you know. That is the original India. And you find these parts of the world, many names of the places, countries, and kingdoms are discussed in the Mahabharata is still there. So it's not only evidence, there are proof that this has really happened. That is why this epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, is called Itihasa Grantha. Itihasa. Itihasa means historical. It's a history. In fact, the word Itihasa, if you split, Itihasa. Itihasa, what it means is thus happened. It has happened. Thus happened. All right. But one caveat there is that you mean everything that is discussed in the Mahabharata, has it really happened? Now, this is where you need to understand the imagination of the Vishala Buddhi, the vast intelligence of sage Vyasa. He used his own imagination to create a story, to make it interesting so that it lived for generations after generations after generations, for millenniums. It will remain as fresh in the minds of people as ever. If sage Vyasa just wrote a history, it would not have been as impactful as it is today. So sage Vyasa in the Mahabharata and Valmiki in Ramayana used their own imagination to embellish the historical incident, to make an impact, to create a story so that people will remember. Remember that. It is so easy to remember stories, but it's not easy to remember historical facts and numbers and figures, etc. So they used the power of memory ingeniously They used the stories as a preservative of this great tradition in the minds of people, because people can remember stories very easily. And of course, recent times, they used technologies to convey the same message through comics and many other movies and other aspects. So you got to make sure that, at least as a Hindu, you have read the Mahabharata at least once. Easier than that is, watching the serial by the great producer. I forgot the name of the person, and it's all available in your YouTube, etc. You don't have to go too far. Only thing is that you need to make a commitment to find that time, about 45 minutes to 1 hour every day, to watch it. And it is so gripping, and it will really, really make an impact in your thinking process. What these ancient Indians, sages and saints, have envisioned. Just the story. We're not talking about the philosophy. Philosophy comes later. We spend 6-7 days just talk about one chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. But just the story of Mahabharata. It has happened. So the sage Vyasa used his imagination to embellish the story, to make it creative, to make it interesting. It is not only that sage Vyasa did it, even modern times. The producers of certain movies and novel writers use the same thing. For example, James Cameron used the historical incidents of Titanic. The Titanic, as you know, was a ship that is called unsinkable. All right. This unsinkable ship in 1918 sunk eventually, and he went deep into the ocean, used the technology, and shot all those, the ship that is still in the water. All right, almost intact, broken ship. Shot everything and created a documentary. And of course, he added his own imagination, a love story between Jack and Rose, etc. And that made people exciting. And it's a historical fact. He spun a story around it to make it interesting. So therefore, the question, did Mahabharata really happen? Has it really existed? Of course it is. It's a historical. It is itihasa, meaning thus it happened. All right. So in this epic Mahabharata, containing over 100,000 verses, Krishna, the most significant role of Krishna is in establishing dharma, is what he played in the Mahabharata. When you read the life of Krishna, as you know, he killed many, many dreaded demons. He did two things. One is he directly killed demons, and he also indirectly killed demonical people, the Kauravas. So Krishna, as a young child, has been destroying evil, like Putana, the demoness, Kaliya as a youth, and Kamsa, or again when he was a young boy, and the dreaded demon Keshan, Shishupala, and there are many others Lord Krishna killed directly. All right. But in Mahabharata, he killed the evil or the evildoers indirectly. So in Mahabharata, Bhagavan Sri Krishna used 5 Pandavas, the 5 Pandava brothers, to eliminate viciousness, evil from the world. So he indirectly as well as directly played his role. First of all, how did Krishna came to join the Pandavas? All right. As you all know the story, the backdrop, basically, I'm sure familiar. All right. The Kauravas and the Pandavas. The Kauravas usurped the Pandavas' kingdom and sent them to the forest. And when they came back and sought the kingdom, Kauravas refused to return the kingdom, and battle became inevitable. And if the Kauravas are continued to rule, there will be anarchy. There will be no virtues left. So war became inevitable. So the Kauravas and the Pandavas, there's no other way. War is inevitable. They were seeking allies. They were going from kings to king to win allies in their favor. All right. Kauravas managed to secure 10 battalions, 10 kings, one more left. Eventually they got 11, of course. Pandavas managed to secure 6 battalions. And the last one was Krishna. So who will Krishna support? All right. So it so happened that one afternoon, Lord Krishna was taking his afternoon siesta, let's say, so to speak. He was resting. And as he was resting, Duryodhana walked in. And he saw Bhagavan Sri Krishna taking his nap, all right? He didn't want to disturb him. And he went and sat by his head. And 10 minutes later, Arjuna also walked in. When Arjuna walked in and he saw Bhagavan Krishna sleeping, he bowed down, he prostrated and went and sat by his feet with utter devotion, reverence. And both of them waited for Bhagavan Krishna to wake up. And after half an hour, Krishna woke up from his siesta. And as he woke up, suddenly he saw Arjuna sitting right in front, by his feet. And Krishna said, "Hey, Arjuna, you're here. I'm so sorry to make you wait. Have you been waiting for so long? I'm terribly, terribly sorry." And Krishna looked this side and Duryodhana sitting. "Oh, Duryodhana, you're also here. How come? It's very strange. Both of you appear at the same time. What brought you here?" Krishna asked. And Duryodhana jumped in and said, "My lord, you know what is happening. We have prepared to wage the war." Remind you, Krishna tried every possible way to avert the war, all right, before this incident. But anyway, Duryodhana said, "I came to seek your support. Please support me in the war, all right? I want your army to join me." And he asked Arjuna, "What are you here for?" And Arjuna also, with utter devotion, "Oh, my lord, please forgive me to seek this request from you, but I want you to join the Pandavas." And Krishna sat there, for a few minutes in a very pensive mood, in contemplative mood. And then he looked at and said, "Okay." And he gave his response. He said, "Now that both of you have come, I need to support both of you. I can't just support one person and let the other person go empty-handed. So I'm going to support both of you. All right. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to divide. And the division is going to be like this. I myself unarmed. I won't pick up any weapon. I myself unarmed on one side, and my entire army on the other side. Krishna's army is very powerful. Vrishni clan, very potent. Just to give you an idea, if 4 armies of 4 big countries, or 5 countries, let's say, all right, India, China, America, England, and Russia, all 5 armies put together on one side, that is the strength of Krishna's army, invincible, can't defeat. That is on one side, and I myself unarmed on the other side. This was the division. As soon as this division was offered, Duryodhana jumped at Krishna and said, "Oh, my lord, I arrived first. I came half an hour before Arjuna came. Since I came first, you must please give me first choice to choose." Krishna said, "You may have come first, but I happened to see Arjuna first. When I opened my eyes, I saw Arjuna sitting right in front on my feet." Remember, Duryodhana didn't want to sit by his feet. He sat by his head. Arjuna decided to sit by his feet. So I will give Arjuna the first preference because I saw him first. And as soon as Krishna made the offer to Arjuna, Krishna asked Arjuna, what do you like to choose? I myself unarmed on one side, my entire army on the other side. This is the division. Arjuna said, "Of course, my lord, we want you on our side." Obviously, Duryodhana was very excited, because if Duryodhana had the first choice, he would have chosen the army anyway. Now, this is the yukti, the intelligence of Arjuna. And of course, Krishna knew that Arjuna will choose Krishna. That's why he gave him the first choice. All right. Now, the point is, if God is with you, What else do you need? If God is in your favor, and if God has to be in your favor, you got to live Satyam, the truth. If God is in your favor, why do you need an army? But anyway, Krishna decided to join Pandavas. And Krishna decided to be the charioteer of Arjuna. He will not fight. He will ride Arjuna's chariot, and Arjuna has to fight. And remember, these are all incredibly yukti, the strategy of Krishna. The word yukti means, it's loosely translated as intelligence, education, etc. But it's much, much more than that. Yukti means intuition, insight, intelligence, education, all those words put together in one. And of course, based on very sound values and principles. That was Krishna there. All right. So that is how Krishna decided to join the Pandavas. And if Krishna was not there, remember, the Pandavas won the Kurukshetra war not by the brute forces, not by the power of army. It is a strategy of Krishna. And being joined the Pandavas to wage the Kurukshetra war, his focus was upon 4 pillars of the Kauravas. They are Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and Duryodhana. These are the 4 warriors. The 4 pillars of the Kaurava army. And Krishna knew, so long as any single one of them survive, there is no way for the Pandavas to win the war. Any one of them, either Bhishma or Drona, Karna or Duryodhana, 4 of them is among the Kauravas. If any single one of, so long as any single one of them is in the army, Pandavas have no chance of winning the war. So Krishna sitting there in the chariot seat as a charioteer, driving the chariot, taking wherever Arjuna wants to go and fight. What did he do? He was strategizing. Krishna was using his yukti. Yukti is that, as I discussed the other day, it is the ability to see opportunities where there are difficulties. It is not just intelligence, it's much more than that. People with yukti refuse to see problems. They know that the problems, opportunities comes in the mask of difficulties. You analyze the lives of CEOs of the huge corporations who have taken companies from nothing to such great heights using yukti, not just academic qualification. You can have academic qualification or not. That's, if you have it, fantastic, nothing wrong with it. But if you don't have yukti, Krishna used a strategy. Many statesmen like Mandela's and Gandhi's and Subhash Chandra Bose say, oh, in fact, India got freedom not because of Gandhi. Gandhi is a face of Congress, of course, at that time. It is actually Subhash Chandra Bose who really, because of whom India got freedom. There are many historical evidences. All right. And there are many other freedom fighters who used yukti, the intelligence. All right. So Krishna's focus was only to knock down these 4 characters. So one after the other. And remember, there are no warriors among the Pandavas who can fight one-on-one to kill any one of those. Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and Duryodhana. And Krishna had to use a strategy. His yukti. Of course, the first one, Bhishma, the great grandsire, the great Pitamaha, great grandfather of Kauravas and the Pandavas, was the commander-in-chief of the Pandava army. Beg your pardon, Kaurava army. Bhishma was the first commander-in-chief. So Krishna was targeting Bhishma. And nobody can defeat Bhishma. He took the terrible vow. That's how he got the name Bhishma. I'm not going to the detailed stories now. So Krishna had to strategize. Bhishma had took a vow that he will never ever fight a female. So Krishna asked Yudhishthira to go to Bhishma and appeal to him. Now, why are you doing this? Why are you killing our army? Why are you killing them? Please do something to help us. And Bhishma himself said, you bring a female in front, I will drop my weapon, I will not fight. But where is the female in the army? Only males fight. And then there is this character called Shikanti. Shikanti in his previous life was a woman, and there is a rift between Bhishma and Shikanti. And Krishna strategized so carefully, and he brought Shikanti in face to face Bhishma. He laid down the weapon. That is when our friend Krishna told Arjuna, shoot him. Arjuna is shooting his grandfather Bhishma, mind you. He's got the highest reverence to this Mahatma. And to shoot him, and you see, read the description, how Krishna insists and Arjuna refuse, and finally Arjuna pulls out the bow and arrow and he closes his eyes and shoots because he can't see his own grandfather dying. But of course, Bhishma didn't die immediately because he has a boon that he can choose when he wants to die. Several days after the Kurukshetra war, he was lying on the bed of arrows until the war is over. He knocked Bhishma down. And the next commander-in-chief was Drona, the guru of Kauravas and the Pandavas. The great Dronacharya. Even today, many teachers or many awards, or some of the awards in India is named after Dronacharya because he's a great coach. The coaching award, award to coaches like cricket coaches or tennis coaches and badminton coaches and hockey is the national game of India. It's named after Drona Award, meaning he's a great teacher, great coach who coached the Pandavas. And Dronacharya took the commander-in-chief position of the Pandava army and of the Kaurava army, beg your pardon. And the Kauravas were terrified because he's one man nobody has ever defeated. He's a Brahmin, took the profession of a Kshatriya. Invincible. But for Krishna, they would not have been able to knock down Dronacharya. So how did Krishna do it? Krishna strategized. Drona, his son's name was Ashwathama. Now, this is a very famous incident in the Mahabharata, and incidentally severely criticized by the superficial readers. I'll tell you why they criticized. Dronacharya's son's name was Ashwathama, only one son, and obviously Drona was very, very dear to, they were very attached to each other. Ashwathama was fighting among the Kauravas' army. So what Krishna did is that, by the way, Yudhishthira, the eldest of the Pandavas, was the virtue personified. And one of the virtues that he had was Yudhishthira never ever spoke a lie in his life, always spoke truth, Satya. All right. So he strategized. He told Bhima, one of the brothers of Pandavas, to go and kill an elephant, which has the same name as Drona's son, which is called Ashwathama. So Bhima went and killed an elephant called Ashwathama, and he came screaming that Ashwathama died, Ashwathama died. And everybody is looking around, Ashwathama really died. And Drona heard this cry, Ashwathama killed, Ashwathama killed. And he was flabbergasted, he was perturbed. He stopped the fight. Remember, Dronacharya was wiping the Pandava army like mist before the rising sun, destroying, unstoppable. And when Bhima came crying, Ashwathama died, Drona stopped fight. And he asked everybody, Ashwathama died. Everybody seems to agree, Ashwathama died. And the only person who will speak the truth is Yudhishthira. So Krishna told Yudhishthira that there will be a situation today and you have to speak what I'm telling you. You have to speak a lie. All right. Drona will ask you to prove that did Ashwatthama really die? Ashwatthama, his son, didn't die. All right. So Drona asked everybody, did Ashwatthama die? Everybody's agreed. And he asked Yudhishthira, did Ashwatthama die? Yudhishthira also said, Ashwatthama, the elephant, died. When Drona heard that, he was paralyzed, as it were. He dropped the weapon. That is when Drishtadyumna, all right, that is brother-in-law of the Pandavas, came and killed Drona. All right. Now, again, strategy. Now, the severely criticized incidents, the aspect in this incident is, why did Krishna make Yudhishthira speak a lie? How can he do that? A person, isn't that adharmic? Isn't that unrighteous? How can he do that? How can Krishna do that? Now, this is because, again, we are reading the Mahabharata superficially. You got to read Mahabharata with a spiritual intelligence, subtle intellect, to be able to account the deeper practical philosophy. Now, people ask us, I've been asked this question time and time again. Why did Yudhishthira suffer despite being good? What was Yudhishthira's fault? He never did anything wrong. Yes, seemingly he did not do anything wrong. But the problem, Yudhishthira's fault was, in life, sometimes you have to suffer in life. You will suffer in life, not because you were bad. I repeat, some people suffer in life not because they were bad, but because they did not know, they did not realize where to stop being good. I've come across people time and time again who do not know where to stop being good, meaning your intention is always being good, but your manifestation of being good, you need to know when to stop. Yudhishthira did not know when to stop being good. That was Yudhishthira's fault. And if Yudhishthira did not stop being good there, Kauravas would have defeated the Pandavas. They would not have been able to kill Drona. And without Drona being defeated, there is no way for winning the war. In life, there are three types of people amongst us. They are the passive people. Then there are the assertive people. Then there are aggressive people. The passive people are those who blindly accept goodness and say being good, dharmic. That was Yudhishthira. He was blindly being good. He was blindly being virtuous. And because of his blind allegiance to so-called virtue, look at the amount of untold suffering that the Pandavas went through. 13 years in the jungle in exile, 12 years in the forest, and 13th year in exile, in incognito. They lost their kingdom. They put their dear wife, Draupadi, to enormous suffering, all kinds of, because Yudhishthira did not know where to stop being good. In life, it is not enough to be good. You must know when to be good, to what limit to be good. Your goodness has to be measured by your rationality. If your goodness is not measured by your rationality, it is as good as, it's worse than being bad. That is what Yudhishthira's problem. So there are passive people, then there are assertive people, and the third is aggressive people. Yudhishthira was passive. Duryodhana was aggressive. Aggressive means people who, obviously, as the very term suggests, those who use aggressive ways and means to destroy evil. They take advantage of good people, noble people. That's exactly what Duryodhana and the Kauravas did. They knew Yudhishthira's weakness, that he's got a weakness to play dice and he did not know how to play. And Duryodhana, along with his uncle Shakuni, strategized through unfair game of dice they defeated, so-called defeated the Pandavas, sent them to the forest. That is aggressive. You need, in the world, you need to, if you want to be a leader, you can't afford to be passive. Leader is not a title, it's an attitude. You are all leaders in your own rights. If you're a breadwinner in the family, you are the leader, all right? In the family, in your workplace, in society, you're a leader, right? You cannot afford to be passive. You cannot afford to be aggressive. If you're aggressive, you lose people. If you're passive, you will be taken advantage by the people. You got to be assertive. That was Krishna. What does it mean being assertive? And a passive person acts on emotion. He reacts very often. React with emotion. An aggressive person also uses emotion, uses aggression. Whereas assertive people, they respond with reason. They're generally calm and serene in their temperament. In that calm and serene temperament, there is dynamic thinking taking place. As they say, what do you call this? Steady water run deep. Anything that is serene, that is an assertive person. That was Krishna. He did not fight. He did not pick up a weapon. He sat there as the charioteer of Arjuna and strategized. In life, there are two aspects that you got to understand. One is called the sense of values. The other one is sense of proportion. You got to understand the distinction between these two. Sense of values and sense of proportion. I'll explain what that means. Yudhishthira had his sense of values very clear, but he did not apply the sense of proportion. What's the difference? Sense of values are the value system. Many good people have got sense of values, but many of them don't have the sense of proportion right. Yudhishthira had sense of values, but he had no sense of proportion. Right? Like he had the sense of value not to speak a lie. That's a sense of value. But he did not apply the sense of proportion. Sense of proportion is your ability to make an intelligent exception to a value that you have been living. Depending upon the circumstances, situation, you got to make an intelligent exception to a value system that you're living. If you don't apply sense of proportion, your value becomes absolutely valueless. There are many people in the world whose value system have no value because they are deeply fanatic. They do not make an intelligent exception depending upon the situation. That is the beauty of Sanatana Dharma. It allows you to make a reinterpretation and suit the situation that is best suited for everybody's interest. Supposing you have an employee who's sincere, devoted, punctual, committed, everything that he does so meticulously. And you got a very important meeting on a Monday. Usually the meeting starts at 9 o'clock. And this meeting is very important. Some important clients going to be present in the meeting, etc. And he's never been late or, significantly late, maybe a few minutes here and there. And this particular meeting, this devoted, committed, sincere, loyal person comes 45 minutes late. Will you take him to task for him arriving 45 minutes late? You'll be concerned because he's not somebody who will come late and he knows how important the meeting is. You'll be concerned. What happened? Are you okay? You're making an intelligent exception depending upon the situation. A lot of people don't know this. That is what Krishna is trying to convey through this episode of killing Drona or making Yudhishthira to speak a lie. His value system is right. Sense of proportion is wrong. Let's say here is a young man, 25-year-old boy. He is living in a different country, maybe in America. He's been studying there for the last 5 years. And he comes probably once in 2 years, 3 years, because he's very focused with his career, etc. He comes to his country, his hometown. And he visits and he's come just for 2 weeks, not living here for months. All right. And he visits the family, spend time with the family, and he's got his 85-year-old grandmother living well far away, probably a couple of hours drive from his house. And this boy, very, very religious, very noble, very pious in his own rights, he fasts every Tuesdays. Meaning, don't eat food, not the way fast that South African understands. All right, real fasting, he doesn't eat completely, he just drinks water, that's it. He fasts every Tuesdays. And the only day that he has time before he leaves the country back to America is on a Tuesday. That's the only day he's available to visit his grandmother. And grandmother has no clue what day he eats or what day he fasts or what he eats, nothing. Knowing the arrival of the only grandson to see her on a Tuesday, old lady made a lot of effort to prepare such delicious dishes. He asked the mother, what does the grandson like? And the grandmother prepared with so much of affection because he's the only grandson. She spent 4 hours preparing some of the delicacies that the grandson likes. And he gets there about 11 o'clock in the morning. And when the old lady invites the grandson to have lunch, what if you happen to be the grandson? What will you do? Will you say, last 10 years, I have been fasting every Tuesday. I never broke a fast. So therefore, Granny, I don't eat. Will you say that? If you say that, which means you don't have sense of proportion. Your value system is absolutely valueless. That is what I would call phonetic. When you are extremely obsessed, attached to your value system without making an intelligent exception to the situation, that is called fanaticism. Whereas, knowing that the grandmother is 85-year-old, and I don't come every 6 months, I come once in 2 years, 3 years. I don't know, next time when I come, I'll be seeing the lady or the grandmother again. I don't know. So he uses his sense of proportion and makes an intelligent exception and say, this particular week, I will eat on a Tuesday, I will fast on a Wednesday. Or just to make up, I'll fast 2 days, whatever way it is. That ability is called intelligent exception. That is called sense of proportion. There are many people, so-called wise people, don't know how to apply the sense of values. Apply the sense of proportion. As a result, value become valueless. In fact, many parents destroy their children and their life without applying the sense of proportion. They don't know where to make an intelligent exception to the discipline that they impose upon the children. That's exactly what Krishna is trying to convey by killing the Dronacharya. Similarly, killing of Karna, similar situation. Karna, as you know, the eldest of the Pandavas. Karna was the firstborn. He was the eldest brother of the Pandava brothers. But the Pandavas did not know. The only people who knew that was Kunti, of course, the mother knew, Krishna knew, and Bhishma knew. And Krishna kept that utmost secret because Karna was very close ally to the Kauravas. And if the Pandavas knew that the Karna is their eldest brother, there is no way they will fight the war. On their dead body, they will not fight the war because Karna is joined. They won't kill the brother. They would rather have the brother and go to the forest than fighting for the kingdom. Dharma, righteousness will not be established. So Krishna decided to keep that as an extreme secret. Didn't reveal it. And who's there to kill Karna? And Karna is among the Kauravas. Only Arjuna can kill. Again, Krishna used his yukti, strategy. And Karna and Arjuna, they did not know their brothers, and they heard the glory of each other for many years. Karna heard about how great Arjuna is. Arjuna heard about how great Karna is for many years, and they have been itching to come face to face. And in Kurukshetra war, they came face to face. Furious battle went through, and Arjuna was no match for Karna. And mind you, Arjuna is the only worthy, powerful warrior among the Pandavas. Arjuna was no match for Karna. And it's impossible for Arjuna to win the war face to face to Karna. So what happened? As the battle, when the fight, the duel was going on, Karna's chariot wheel got stuck in the quicksand as they were fighting, the mud. And he can't ride the chariot. His charioteer can't move the chariot. Chariot got stuck. And Karna appealed to Arjuna and Krishna, please stop the war. Let me release the chariot wheel. All right. See, this is the beauty of war at those days. They start the war at 8 o'clock, finished at 5 o'clock. All right, during the day. And after the war is over, they exchange each other, go to the enemy's camp, enemy come to this camp. You know, I don't know how they did that, but that was the description that is given in the Mahabharata. They fought, but among the Pandavas, there was no enmity. There was definitely enmity among the Kauravas, Duryodhana and the team. All right. So when they came face to face, Karna and Arjuna came face to face. Karna said, please stop the war. Let me release the chariot wheel. And Arjuna stopped. All right. And Karna alighted out of the chariot. And as he was struggling to lift the chariot wheel out of the quicksand that it got stuck, our friend Krishna, sitting as a charioteer, told Arjuna, come on, get him. This is the time. Kill an unarmed enemy. It is unethical in the war. Arjuna said, no way I will kill Karna. You know, he's unarmed. This is a rule of the battle. Krishna said, break the rule, kill him. Arjuna said, no way, I will not fight. Krishna insisted, this is the time, fight, shoot. Out of sheer insistence from Krishna, Arjuna picked up the bow and arrow and aimed at Karna. And Karna saw Arjuna aiming at his arrow. And that unarmed Karna was shot dead by the bow and arrow by Arjuna. Seemingly unethical, severely criticized incidents in the Mahabharata. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is Krishna trying to convey through this episode in the Mahabharata? Again, what is righteousness and what is unrighteousness? It is based on intention. The intention Pandavas fighting the war was not to enjoy the prosperous kingdom. The intention was to establish dharma, establish righteousness. There's a saying, it is not dharma to practice dharma to an adharmi. Yes, you might say Karna was a dharmic person, he was the Pandavas, but he was joining the Kauravas, right? Supposing you say, I'm a very charitable person, I'm a very helpful person, and if you are all the time helping a drug lord who's destroying the minds of younger generation, can you say, are you doing charity? That is nonsense. You cannot be dharmic to an adharmic person. If somebody is, if you're so benevolent and charitable to a drug lord who's destroying the mindset of the people in younger generation, you are being adharmic. That is what Karna was doing. Although Karna inherently was good, but he was good to a bad person. Being good to a bad person is as good as bad. You cannot practice dharma to an adharmi. That is what Krishna is trying to convey. Similarly, the incidents of killing the Duryodhana. So Krishna basically in the Mahabharata war, his focus was upon knocking down the 4 pillars of Kurukshetra, of the Kauravas. And he did it so ingeniously, very strategically. All right. And if Krishna wasn't there, sitting as a charioteer, there was no way Arjuna would have been saved. You know, having fought the Kurukshetra war, when the war was over, all right, before Arjuna, of course, the Pandavas defeated the Kauravas, all right, and Krishna told Arjuna to get out of the chariot first. Arjuna said, why? You get out first and then I'll get out. Krishna said, no, you come out first and then I will get off. So Arjuna got off the chariot and walked a little away, and that is the time Krishna also got out of the chariot. And the story goes, the whole chariot exploded into fire. because of the weapons that Karna, Bhishma, Drona, and all the powerful warriors shot. It is because of Krishna's presence that Arjuna was protected. All right? Arjuna represents all of us. All of us, you and me, are Arjunas. Right? So long as we are devoted to Krishna, he spells out in the Bhagavad Gita, he who's devoted to me serves me, meaning serve the supreme reality, serve the higher values of life, is always protected. Dharmo rakshati rakshita. So Krishna's role in Kurukshetra war was, of course, ultimate aim, objective was to protect dharma, protect righteousness. But in the process of protecting righteousness, he seemingly broke certain rules. All right, that is called applying sense of proportion. So in Mahabharata, although Krishna seemingly violated the law, from the bigger point of view, you will see that Krishna never ever violated the law. He always focused upon the law and established law right through his action. That, in a nutshell, is the role of Krishna in the Kurukshetra war. With that, I say thank you very much for joining in these last 8 days, including on this auspicious day, we continue to celebrate the birth of Krishna. Birth of Krishna happens in the midnight, 12 o'clock in the night, right? So we continue the celebration until the birth of Krishna. Birth of Krishna is not something happened thousands of years ago. Birth of Krishna is happening right now. Birth of Krishna has to happen within each one of us. The Kurukshetra war is not something happened thousands of years ago. The Kurukshetra war is something that is happening right now within the bosom of every one of us. So let us bring about the birth of Krishna within each one of us, so that we will become victorious in the battle of Kurukshetra between higher aspirations and lower temptations. All right. With that, I conclude. We conclude with the Shanti part. Om Purnamata Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you, Angajan ji, for yet another powerful and most insightful discourse. To attain tranquility and maintain a sound mind, we need to be persistent with injecting ourselves with these teachings daily. Angajan ji has made these teachings easily available to us in the form of audiobooks, books, and DVDs to cater for what will work best for you. Just to mention a few of my favorites: Spiritual Law of Self-Motivation and Success, The Power of Positive Mental Attitude, Sound Sense of Values for Better Living, The Dynamics of the Mind, and I could actually go on. But you can visit the Life Mastery Foundation website for more details on these readily available resources on www.lifemastery.vision. The website would also present you with the opportunity to make a donation to the Life Mastery Foundation to encourage the propagation of the teachings of Sri Angajan ji. I wish you all a blessed Krishna Janmashtami. Stay safe. Hari Om.